The agenda topics for properties are three things with Herkimer County Community College.
And they're the same three with Ways and Means under the consent agenda.
The first one is award a contract for Johnson Hall roof repairs. There's a resolution that was passed by the Board of Trustees on April 27th, and it awards a bid contract. JH Roof Renovations Science Lab, and the total cost here is $7,845.
What was that again?
307,
Same as last night, bro.
I wasn't here.
845.
That's right, you weren't.
I got it, didn't know.
Was there a motion?
Motion.
Well, this is consent, you can do all three at once.
Yes.
I
Okay,
have a question on one of them, though.
All right, well- okay. The second one is a similar letter from the college. It awards contracts for general construction, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, and the science lab project. And the third one is a routine correction of the 2010-2011 operating budget in order to receive additional state aid. All three are resolutions that were submitted by the college to the legislature.
So Ways and Means needs a motion on the three. Motion. And a second.
I'll second.
Properties needs motion and
Make a
second.
motion.
I'll second.
You got all those, Jim?
Yep, I got Bob, Ray, and Bob.
Any discussion?
Dennis, I had a question on number 3, because when I got in here last night, that I think was already going on, but you just introduced it as a routine. In order to receive aid, there's nothing different in there?
What happens is you go through a whole operating budget year, and then as they start auditing things out, they find different things that they can bill back for in order to generate more state aid.
Yeah, no
This-
problem with
this-
that for me.
I've done this every year since I've been here.
No
It
problem.
wasn't a significant difference, it was
Like
I think
13,000 and
grand.
change.
It's got $13,911 in state aid.
Additional.
Thank you.
Right.
But we need to amend that. And it's not the 2011-12 budget, it's 2010-11 budget. And that doesn't shake out until after they start closing up, 6 months after they close the books.
All in favor, Ways and Means?
Aye.
Opposed?
All in favor on properties?
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. Any other on properties? Motion to adjourn, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Ben.
Number 5, apportionment of mortgage tax.
So moved. Second.
Who seconded it?
Bernie.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Transfers.
Yeah, we've got one, and Bernie can help me if it gets tough. Their sewer district transferring $7,400 from a solid handling account into equipment account. Their old cable hoist broke, and they're buying a new one.
That track, Bernie?
Yes.
Make sure you wait for one.
All in favor? I mean, motion, please?
Motion.
Oh, second.
And a second. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Number 8.
Number 7.
Mine's crossed out.
Yeah, 7's not ready.
Broke its leg.
Sylvia's still working on it.
Last time we discussed oh, I'm sorry. Is this, we don't have to go into executive session for this one, do
I'd ask Rob and Steve.
we? Is this executive session? Buyout, workman's comp buyout? The
No,
individual-
because I'm not gonna talk anybody. No.
Okay.
Open session.
We have an opportunity to buy out someone in the workers' comp plan.
Yeah.
Steve?
I'm not mentioning names, so I should go up there. Yeah, I got a call from Tina Panici with Benetech. She's got a very good workers' comp claim that she feels we should take a look at doing a section 32 buyout. This is somebody who is 43 years old, has a permanent partial disability, which means we're gonna pay for life. on this claim. There is no opportunity for any state reimbursements. And Tina estimates the person's 43, if they live to age 80, will cost us between $350,000 and $400,000. We can buy the claim out for $58,500.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Yeah, just general question, do we always vote on those, or is this something unique?
Say that again?
Do we always vote on these buyouts when Benetech does it? They all have to come before us, or is this something special?
That's a good question. I know we do it.
On occasion, but I didn't.
I know we do it, our,
Won't this
Ways
become,
and
this
means.
become a board resolution, right? This will move on to,
No,
we don't have to go board resolution.
I believe technically, as the administrator, I have the authority to
Right.
authorize these
Okay.
buyouts, but I've always gone to the committee for their blessing.
Okay.
But it doesn't go in front of the full.
Okay.
So all buyouts come before the committee?
Since I've been
Okay,
here, any
all right, I
buyouts
just
that-
couldn't
yeah,
remember.
as far as I know. Okay, follow up on the workman's comp rule change. I think Dennis asked about this the last time in regards to having the entities that were going to get out of the plan actually pay for the actuarial study.
Or a portion thereof,
And
maybe 50%, I don't know, something. some
how it
idea.
would work is Rob,
Yeah.
the local law?
Yeah, we put the rules in place by local law. So in order to do this, you'd have to amend the rules, and you amend the rules by local law. The withdrawal period is end of June, Steve?
Yeah, I need a letter by July 1st if they're going to get out for the following year.
So if you want to do it, you have to have a public hearing at the June 13th meeting, which means at this Wednesday's meeting, you would have to set that public hearing, indicating you would amend the rules and however you decide to do that.
Would it be possible to amend our rules to say if an actuarial study is done, we'll use that actuarial study for X number of years, 3 years, 5 years?
Change.
That's just a question, just a thought. That way there's no cost to anybody.
No, I don't
Okay.
think I don't think
Okay.
it might not be an accurate reflection of what is owed at that
Right,
time. You
okay.
could have a dramatic shift, it's possible. So it's likely to still be close, but I think in fairness, each withdrawing entity is entitled, and so are the remaining entities entitled to
Yeah,
an actual.
okay, okay.
What did it cost us, 13,000?
13,000.
Went from 11 to 13, I think. Is that right, Steve? What was it?
It was a small, it was like a 3% increase. I think, yeah, it might have been.
It should be getting simpler, not more complicated, should it?
What's that?
It should be getting simpler, not more
It's
complicated.
getting simpler.
It's supposed to.
It should be.
Is it based on any kind of price indexing, or what's it based on? I mean, the accounts aren't growing.
Well, it's based on medical costs out till the year 2100.
And there's no
Are you
statistic
talking
out
about
there that you can
the way the
apportion.
actuarial figures it? Are you talking?
Yeah, I was just curious if, I mean, the number of cases aren't growing, they're shrinking. And if you had one done, we just had one done recently, right? I mean, is there any other data that you could use that could allow you to take it what it was and, you know, if it's based on medical, is there a medical index or something, or? I'd just be curious, if we took an old one, if there were such an indices, if we took an old one and applied, let's say 2 ago, and applied whatever that was, I'd be curious how close it came to the one we just paid for, you know, to find out if it's so out of sync.
Well,
I don't
I don't
know.
know the world of actuarial. Things do change and medicals do change and how much they're gonna pay.
Life expectancy tables change, there's all kinds of variables.
Yeah.
We know this one, the next one will change after this.
Big
We
buyout,
just
yeah.
approved, the last one we just approved, that's gonna make that change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it should, yeah. What do you wanna do as far as the workman's comp rule change?
How many people?
Can I ask why we're asking to hurt the towns and villages that stay with you?
Well, it just seems like,
They're the ones that honor the contract.
I just
Here we
want
sit and
to ask the question.
well, they're the ones that stayed with us are getting hurt every time one of them asks to get out.
Yeah, they just got hurt when we paid for Columbia's actuary study, the rest of them got hurt.
these guys have stayed with it the whole time.
I know, it's really, it's a conundrum, it
They're
is.
the ones that got.
I'm just throwing it out there, 'cause
But
it's
they
gonna
are
come
the
up.
ones, but they are the ones, Jim, that got punished, the ones that stayed.
And then they're gonna get punished again.
Well, then maybe you don't
If
give
they
them the
get out.
That's all.
75
If they
cents.
get
But
out.
Jim, it would be an incentive for them to keep them there though. If they know they gotta come up with money out of this.
I'm just asking the question. Wait,
We've
that was
been
asking.
we've been eating the actuarial and the 75 cents on the dollar.
Well, the fund has, right?
Yeah,
So like Bruce said, I mean, it's costing, why not make
You don't
him?
want to.
no,
How many are in?
no, it-
Steve wouldn't have.
and the thought, should the county be paying off? And getting 75 cents on the dollar and getting out? Shouldn't we? We're a member of the plan,
So move.
yeah? No, it makes sense. It does make sense, financially.
Yeah, I'd have to see it though.
But if every one of them said get out, then who eats what's left? The county anyway, right?
And that's why I say from my end, I'd like to see it because
You could continue to pay your big share of it?
assessments are going up. So what's the position on number 9 here? Brought it up, you know what's going on. If we wanted to do something this year, we certainly have to do it quickly. Has anybody indicated they want to get out?
I haven't got one either.
Nobody officially,
Oh, that's
but I mean,
I left it
the
up.
town of Newport has been, for the last couple of years, considering that. But no, nobody officially yet.
Why, what about paying for the actuarial or the 75 cents on a dollar, one or the other? Whichever is lesser.
Whatever's left. Oh, you mean versus 100%?
Versus 100% of it.
I mean, we've done it with everybody. It's become, I would probably, if someone wanted to use the word tradition, you would use it. Because I haven't heard, we haven't denied it to anybody.
No, we haven't. It's part of the plan.
Would that get us any trouble, Rob, down the road? With somebody coming back and saying that we didn't charge them?
Not legally, no.
Okay.
It's just a question of fairness and
Politics.
policy amongst the members of
Right.
the plan. But legally, there's no difficulty, you can do what you want.
Okay, we're gonna leave it there because nobody wants to.
Yeah, it bothers me, but I don't have a really good solution either. That's fair.
We have a request, number 10.
Hey, may I just, would you poll them?
Go ahead.
The one thing with it though is, like with Columbia, they made a decision with the understanding that this is what we're doing, and then afterwards we're talking about not going with it. That's where my problem is. I mean, if we're gonna stay with it, then I don't think we should change mid-course when somebody decides they wanna go out. I mean, in the final vote, it wasn't a problem, but up until then, it was lucky it got out of committee.
But the thing of it is,
I know, because what we found is that it's costing the plan more money than we anticipated. And giving the 25% reduction, the money isn't coming in, obviously, as well as we first anticipated. We aren't getting the amount of interest that was way back then that we thought we might be getting.
Pat, there's one other issue, is, and this came to my attention for the first time, when we discussed this with the town of Columbia, is the fact that the town of Columbia triggers the $13,000 audit, but doesn't pay a penny toward it. They're getting out, that audit is reassessed to those that are left. So as the pool gets smaller, the cost of each one of these actuarial audits is borne by those who choose to stay. So there's where the inherent unfairness of the whole thing lies.
What about allowing the 14 that are in to make a suggestion? They're the ones that are doing it, they're the ones that are left paying, right? What about allowing them to offer an opinion on what they think is equitable? I mean, if you've got 3 that are saying leave it alone, you got 14 that says change it?
Well, there is a time factor to get, and if you know how it works when you're trying to get communications out and communications back in a short time frame, it doesn't happen. They're waiting for town board meetings to discuss it.
Well,
So
let's just say for
it
the,
doesn't work.
You never get it done.
You never get it
for
done.
the sake of argument, that
Just by
one of
this
them,
time.
that one of them wants to get out now. They've been footing the bill for all the others that have been getting out, so
Right.
they've paid their fair share on it. I mean, it's tough. We,
Yeah,
we didn't anticipate lawsuits and, not having
No.
the money, and
no.
so there was a lot of issues there that, weren't anticipated, so.
But I don't have a fair proposal either, so leave
On the
it.
other hand, we've always thought you stay in, you're gonna be better off than getting out. And where, I would like to see, just out of curiosity, those people that did get out, how much their workman's comp went up. Or what their prices were comparatively. And I think we know the answer to that. We have a request, number 10, to remove 2 DSS positions from the CSS salary schedule.
Heading down to,
I need a motion to go into executive session on this.
Motion to go into executive session to discuss.
It's a personnel matter, Rob, and,
Are they specific to
Two particular-
specific people or
Yeah.
positions? If they're really mentioning people's names? I thought it has to be specific to people.
Here's a rule.
no, there's also collective bargaining issues.
If it's matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or program,
We're not talking about particular people.
or the employment history of a particular person.
Well, yes, we will be talking about people.
Specific people, we're gonna go into names and everything else,
Yes, we will.
okay.
Shouldn't take too long.
Motion.
Just get a second, ways and
yeah, the only, your ways and means on everything.
Yeah,
You're gonna
because
win out.
like Ted said, those people who are paying for all these other people,
But you're calm. Okay.
now they gotta be.
Going back to the workers' comp, in the lawsuit, we had the other towns that stayed in, they were in the lawsuit also, and they had their own attorneys.
hang on a second, would you please process this?
And they were looking, based on the letter, looking to get reimbursed for their attorney. Steve, do you have that letter, do you know how much they were looking for to get reimbursed? I have it somewhere total $34,000.
The question is whether the plan could reimburse them. That
Well,
was-
there you go.
And did we get that answer?
What's the question,
The
Pat?
question is whether the plan could reimburse the towns that were in the litigation with the plan because they hired their own attorney to protect their interests.
We're still in the first one, right?
So the question is whether the plan could reimburse the attorneys for those towns. And then if they could, then the question would be whether we would approve it.
Why would we approve it though, Pat? Mr. Chairman? They're getting out of this.
No.
No, these are for
Oh, they're,
the
okay,
They fought the
okay.
lawsuit beside us, they sat beside us.
Oh, okay,
Their
I-
attorney and the plan's attorney, and we won.
Yeah.
And their thought is, from all the interest, they would be able to get reimbursed for their attorney.
Yeah.
How much was it?
What are we talking about as far as the total amount is
I
concerned?
think it was like 34,000.
34, all of them?
Total.
Yeah, attorney's fees, yeah.
647.
But the question was is whether the plan could do it. There was some, so if we don't know that, we'll have to go back and look it up.
I think Rob knows.
Do you know, Rob, whether the plan can do it?
I have 2 thoughts on it. One is, and I don't know if you want to get advice of counsel in executive session or not, but I'm not sure that there is any legal, any constitutional prohibition, gift-wise. It wouldn't be an illegal gift because it's a municipality. However, I don't know that there's anything in the statute or the rules of the plan allowing for such payments at the present time.
So we could table the discussion and then you
And
could
that's
look
kind of a
at it.
recent thought I had.
And you could look at that?
Yes, I'm good.
What are the towns? Who are?
I don't even remember.
7? How many?
We're down to 13, huh?
I want to say he represented 6 or 8 of them. I could get you the list.
No, so they just, he represented all of them.
Correct.
There's no other council.
Yeah.
No, he didn't
Well, there was some.
No,
sub-
he didn't represent everybody, he represented his clients.
I know Mr. Mann represented Mohawk, because I'm from Mohawk, so I paid attention. So I'm sure you'd get that same request.
But remember, other members of the plan did not hire their own attorney, they relied on the plan's attorney. So the plan's attorney represented about half of the members of the plan, and then other municipalities decided to go get their own attorney in addition.
It was very positive to our defense, Rob, correct?
It was one.
It was very positive to our defense.
Well, it certainly was, from what I've heard, helpful.
Absolutely.
But there were plan members who decided not to incur that expense and just went through the plans alone.
So the issue was that those towns did not have to have their own attorneys because the plan
Was
had.
their option.
The plan provided defense and an attorney, and municipalities, some municipalities decided to get their own attorney in addition. And it was effective and helpful, no question.
So they sent us a letter asking for that, so we need to come up and see what our answers are then. Then, deal with it if it's something we can do. So that's what we'll do, we'll put that back to Rob. Do you want to call him anything other than?
We got all night on this.
Pat, is there any way that we could come up with the county's cost in this litigation so that we can pit our cost against the towns that want us to pick up their costs for private attorneys?
Our county cost would be,
It's actually
well, no, it's the
plan
plan
cost.
cost, because the plan hired the attorneys.
Okay, we didn't have a, okay.
Well, then Charlie did a little bit of stuff, but I mean, he's,
And I don't think we kept track of the hours, but certainly the county attorney's office was involved heavily
Right.
as well from the beginning, but we don't know what those.
Okay, good evening, and I'd like to call the Human Resource Committee to order. First thing on the agenda for Human Resources and Ways and Means is abolish alcohol substance abuse counselor, establish a psychiatric social worker position in mental health.
Yeah, what we're proposing from mental health is we have a retirement this July of the substance abuse counselor, and Mr. Scudder is looking to establish a psychiatric social worker. The reason for that is the reimbursement is not there for the counselor. However, it is there for the psychiatric social worker. The salary for the psychiatric social worker is $53,013, and the salary for the abuse counselor is $45,401. So you can see there's about a $7,600 increase in salary. However, Ed's estimate is an additional $40,000 in revenue that he'll be able to get from the state because of the creation of this position. So there are some costs. Look at health insurance, everything, probably $18,000 to $20,000, but the revenue would more than cover it.
So moved. Is there a second?
Is he confident he can
What side?
recruit?
To go ahead with the change.
Bernie, you're on
Ways and Means.
Ways and Means.
Ways and Means.
Yeah, I don't want to.
yeah, so Ways and Means, I need a second on Ways and Means.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, I need a motion
I'll
for
move it.
Lenny, seconded by Shaw.
All in favor, Ways and Means?
Any thought on his recruitment? Will it be more difficult to recruit this individual rather than what he's got?
He's looking to do this now, then, because he's hoping to be able to find somebody at that time.
Okay, and how quickly is he gonna make this, he's got a retirement?
He's hoping for July 9th.
Okay.
And he's coming to you now because he needs the time to be able to try to go out and get somebody.
I wish he were here. How come he's not? How come he's not here for this?
I think it was a big deal.
I just, because I happened to be invited to something this weekend about the changes that are happening at the psych center, Mohawk Valley Psych Center, and the layoffs, and of course there's social workers there to get laid off. The other issue, of course, is that if any of the residents of Herkimer County require adult inpatient hospitalization, psychiatric hospitalization, they're now going to have to go to Syracuse. It's no longer going to be available to them in our area. And I'm wondering what we see happening as far as the clinics and all, with the changes that mental health is doing. Abolishing this particular position, does it change the class of people that they're rendering services to at all? I mean, with the alcohol and substance abuse counselor dealing with more specialized skills than a psychiatric social worker, I'm just wondering if there's any diminishment in the alcohol abuse and drug abuse session, and where Ed is on this. We may have it all covered, but.
The second item is he wants to hire a part-time counselor.
Well, but if, then with all due respect, if that part-time counselor takes the place of the one we're abolishing, what's the need to create the social worker?
As has
Because
been,
we hope to create revenue from.
and the workload.
So the clinic is gonna, that's what I'm
He's
concerned
looking for
about
an
that.
increased caseload.
I know that somebody from Oneida County called and wanted me to bring a resolution to you, but they didn't get it to me in
Okay.
terms of the concern that they have from a mental health perspective of what's happening with the closure of adult inpatient services, because our catchment area, Herkimer County's catchment area, will no longer go to Utica. It's gonna go to Syracuse, to Hutchings, if anybody needs adult inpatient that can't be handled at an acute level. The general, it's important stuff that we should know that's happening to our people, and this would have been a good time to dialogue it. Okay.
Okay, you got a question?
Yeah, Jim, is the state giving any guidelines on the length of time that extra 40 grand may be there or may be full?
As money's been pretty consistent, Fred,
But there's major changes coming in mental health this year,
everything we do,
major changes.
we think that money will be there.
Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ways and Means, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, now the second item is contract for consulting alcohol abuse counselor and mental health. This, I think, answers Howard's question.
I don't know, it does, we don't know what he's doing with it. Is it, Jim?
Well,
This is our mandatory contract with DSS, 8 hours a week, $25 an hour. It'd be a consultant, it wouldn't be an employee. And Ed would like to, get that in the paper as quick as he can.
This is, it's to contract someone to come in, to go to work for DSS? It's
Does-
not- So the person that.
Doesn't go to work for DSS, but does the work that DSS needs. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
So there's no benefit.
Who's doing it now? A contract, or no? If we don't do this, number two, who is rendering
Ed
those?
Ed has a contract, I'm sorry, Tim has a contract with Ed to perform this service.
And so the person that's leaving number one is not going, because of that, we want to do number two?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
'Cause that's
Okay.
I think that alludes a little what Mr. Smith was saying. This
Okay.
is gonna give us a little bit of extra coverage, to free up some of what Mike used to do, to be able to have somebody here to do that and have it covered by this, total contract.
may I have a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Henry, seconded by Mr. Shaw.
I'm still a little confused. So the savings that we talked about in number one,
That's in revenue, that's for the psychiatric social worker. That's got nothing to do with this position.
well, the savings we're
Just
having, because we're
consultant.
not filling we're not filling the alcohol abuse counselor position, so that's the savings, and we're converting it to a social worker where we can get greater reimbursement, isn't that what you said?
Well, that's where extra revenue comes
The
in.
social
The
worker.
person is more money. Okay, is that correct?
Correct, that's what I stated.
But you're also getting more revenue.
Correct.
Right, okay. So it's all
And that
spent.
21,000 had nothing to do with the 40,000 I was talking about. It's two separate and distinct things.
Okay.
When we're talking about the psychiatric social worker making more, but it's offset by revenue, I guess, would we need number two if we still had an alcohol substance abuse counselor? Or are we spending the total of the contract plus the new salary?
The
to make
alcohol,
up for that
let me
one
just say
position?
this, the alcohol abuse person cannot bill like the psychiatric social worker. Can't bill for the services.
Right.
But I'm saying it's
So
two
we've got-
related to one. I know it's a separate contract, but it's an additional expense we're incurring because we're getting rid of the alcohol substance abuse counselor, right?
Correct. Correct. So what we're saying, Gary, we're gonna be, so for those two costs, we're bringing in an additional $61,000 in revenue.
61, I thought it was.
Well, I said 40, well, because now that we're combining, and I think you're making a good point. So you combine both costs, but you're also combining both revenues. So you're combining the $21,000 revenue plus the 40,000, so you're bringing in $61,000 in revenue.
Okay, the contract brings in more revenue, number two?
No, two's only 21,000.
Yeah, but that's revenue.
Absolutely, 21,000 additional revenue.
Okay, okay.
And the cost for that's around $10,000, $11,000 a year.
So it's good.
So the
You're
point
making
is-
money on it, basically.
It feels like a shell game, but
No,
basically,
and guess
no,
what?
it's not.
I didn't know, but Ed's one of the better
So
guys in New York
number
State
two-
about doing this stuff.
So at number two, this is a contract that
With DSS.
DSS is going to have with EdStar.
Correct.
And number one is just Ed getting staff in there to render some of the
That's
services
right.
that
And
number
what
two
happened is
provides.
that person that we're letting go, Helen, used to do this contract.
I got it, finally, yep.
And next time I'll make sure I have Ed here. Because he could say it a lot better.
This contract is for people in DSS that they've identified with alcohol abuse,
Mandated.
and it's mandated service to DSS.
Right. They have to have somebody provide this contract.
And technically, they could go out and buy a contract from
Absolutely.
anybody else, but
Yeah,
they're
it doesn't have to
getting
be,
it from
doesn't
our
have to be
broker.
Ed.
Anyone else?
I need a motion. Do I need a
So
motion
moved.
in Ways and Means, or do I need
Already
a?
did.
Already had it. All right.
Hang on.
All those in favor for human?
No, we don't have the Ways and Means, guys.
Also,
Yeah, I got it.
And we had Smitty's, but we didn't have Pat's.
No, I know. All in favor of Ways and Means?
aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Is yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are we gonna do with the doc's down here?
Doctor, here.
Just as far as mental health is concerned, I would appreciate it if Ed could give us some indication on some of the changes that he's seeing happen in the statewide mental health, and specifically our catchment areas, to know if we have concerns in our county. Oneida County and other municipalities have adopted memorializing resolutions to send to the governor to say, let's not keep our counties coming up short with the people in our counties having to travel to Syracuse when the facilities at Mohawk Valley are new and in better repair, and the capital money they're going to spend in Syracuse to take those residents that require inpatient hospitalization along with those jobs. You know, so-
If you get that resolution, we'll take a look.
Right, but I appreciate that Ed should have some insight if there's an impact to us or not.
Yeah, he's got his 2 cents on it.
Thank you, it's gonna be a huge impact. We
For
talked-
anybody that needs hospitalization, if you can't be handled at St. Elizabeth's and St. Luke's, they're gonna have to go to Hutchings.
The third item is child update. I'll ask Dr. O'Keefe to give us the update.
Any other business?
Get my notes here.
Perhaps there are questions about where we were before a month ago. But as of a month ago, we had a productive meeting with the Department of Health, Senator Seward's office, and a proposal was made for the Department of Health to allow us emergency regulations to cooperate more closely with VNA in Utica. Since then, the...
Explain what VNA means.
Pardon me?
VNA?
Visiting Nurse Association of Utica, sorry. And since then, the New York State regional office in Syracuse didn't support that, and so we've gone back to Senator Seward and the New York State Department of Health in Albany for clarification, which we're still waiting for. But I think that possibly I could go further, but that might be an executive session thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Mr. Wallace
any
could tell me.
personnel issues or anything like that.
Okay, so at any rate, I think that a lot depends on that. I think that once the permission has been received to proceed with closure in the way that I was alluding to by cooperating with the VNA, then we would have our closure plan, which is 30 days. Involves 30 days to inform everyone of what the plan is, and advise the patients of their the possibilities for them. And then the crisis part of all this is that if VNA is not allowed to give us emergency help, then there are no possibilities for those patients, and so that either keeps us in the business longer or leaves the patients to accept less care than we could.
Yeah.
I guess I'm confused now, again. The agreements that we were working on when we were in the process of selling the child license, the last conversation I recall was that there were some changes in the state regs that may have made our child license not valuable, but we had entered into some kind of agreement, and I don't remember this committee talking about that agreement has gone by the wayside. So VNA, I guess I don't know how to make that connection between what we were doing and where we are now.
That original agreement hasn't gone by the wayside. But this, what Dr. O'Keefe is talking about, shortens the process for us. We can either play it out to the end or use this alternative to shorten up that process.
Well, how does, who's the one we had the contract with is who? Valley Health Services? Or who, not at-home care, at-home care. Is at-home care. And they're not in this equation at all? They can't come in where VNA?
She sat in on the meeting that he talked about, and she was very happy.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that. I got that. Who was in the meeting? I had Seward and...
Lori Meander?
And
Is
so,
that her name?
Lori Meander.
so
At-home
that,
care.
at-home, so she was at the meeting too, he didn't say
Oh,
that.
yeah, and she was very happy that this was going to take place.
Well, they've actually wanted this.
Yeah.
And they're not able to offer an interim service?
Well, they could, but the state, in their wisdom, carries this thing out to a year and a half or something. It's a long time process. But by doing it this way, we can shorten up that process. And they're still willing to honor their agreement with us,
Which is the agreement to do what?
to pay us the, I forget what the money was.
$150,000.
$150,000. They're still gonna do that. But it just helps us to get to the end quicker.
But VNA were one of the vendors that we had originally brought in and chose at-home care over them. How did they bring them back in? I guess I'm confused, again.
I don't know. It was
What's
through-
transpired that at-home care can't take care of the people and they had to go to the VNA?
Well, the two different programs, which is the beauty of the deal and the horror of the deal, is that to have a long-term care program, you must have a certified home health agency. If you have a certified home health agency, you can operate much as at-home care does and take care of patients on a limited basis. 6 weeks, 3 months, that kind of thing, where there's a particular goal in mind. Long-term care means that the perspective is infinite, and you might be signing on to take care of a person for years. And most of the patients in our long-term care agency, perhaps 8, have been patients for 6, 8 years, most of them. And will be patients for many years to come, we hope. And so when at-home care went to the process of getting the long-term care licensure, suddenly, because of the Medicare reform program, all the rules changed. First part of the rule was that anyone could apply for a certified home health agency anywhere. And so that caused quite a problem, but for other counties who had entered into similar agreements as ours. But for long-term care, we were a bit unique in that now the long-term care is going to be a Medicaid program, and the burden of the Medicaid program in terms of comprehensive, in other words, it requires the nursing home or the nursing service to be kind of an insurance company with that kind of risk. And so most of the long-term care is going to be taken over by larger conglomerates that are going to serve many counties because they'll have the ability to do those things that insurance companies do. So on that backdrop, it made sense for a smaller agency like At-Home Care to withdraw and wait for a larger entity like Fidelis, which is the Medicaid managed care that manages our Medicaid, to come in and manage long-term care. So that's what happened and why they couldn't, or why they didn't continue their application.
My understanding of that new regulation got passed, at least the way it was explained to me, it basically opens the market up to anybody, correct? So I guess my question is, and I have a lot of respect for visiting nurses, why are we trying to tie ourselves to one when it seems the health department is trying to open up the market, I would assume, to get us better care and a better price? And my second question was, what's the benefit, I'm not saying it's not a benefit, I'm just curious, of shortening the time frame? Because sometimes taking care of people and making sure they're taken care of right takes some due deliberation, and perhaps that's what the state wants for good reason. How do we benefit by shortening the time frame as opposed to the way the state usually does it?
Thanks, Chairman. Well, essentially, we're not trying to hang ourselves with any one particular agency. It happens VNA has a long-term care license, has a long-term care program, so they're poised and ready to continue the same services that we provide for their patients, for our patients. And having that long-term care licensure already means that they already understand the ins and outs of that complicated program. And so it would be a more natural transition. Currently, running an agency and requires us to follow all the rules and regulations and provisions and expenditures that are associated with having two programs. And yet running those programs with a very small amount of staff causes difficulties in terms of managing the patients when the one nurse is out sick and that kind of thing. You know, it's a toil. And so we think that perhaps, or my contention was that perhaps, you know, we were at a point where we weren't operating efficiently, and the legislature felt that that was correct. And so we are not operating efficiently, but we are certainly discharging our duties to these patients with great care. And our process here has been ongoing for nigh on to 16 or 17 months, waiting for the stars to align.
So I think what I'm hearing you said is that the reason we're going to VNA now is because they have a long-term care license and At-Home Care does not. At-Home Care does not have a long-term care.
Correct.
VNA does. Wasn't VNA, though, one of the firms that came in and competed? And actually, if I recall correctly, we chose At-Home Care, I'm not sure the rationale, because what they offered was the lowest offer of the ones that you considered. And I'd be curious if how we're taking VNA in for the short, our plan, if the health department had allowed it, take VNA in for the short term, and then for the long term to stay with At-Home Care. I don't understand how that got so convoluted. Because VNA was the one that you didn't accept to do the thing from the get-go, aren't they?
Yeah, they were one of them.
But they offered more money even than at-home care, and we didn't accept them for, I don't know what the reasons were, but I don't understand I understand now they
I
have
don't
to come
know.
in because they got the long-term care license.
Right, but I don't know if it matters at this point.
Well, perhaps it does, because when we're all done doing this, the deal that we have with at-home care now, if this had not been stopped by the health department, or whoever refused to do it, if it was the health department that said no, are they the ones that wouldn't give you the regional, whatever. If that had not been stopped, VNA would have been holding us together. In terms, the patients would be transferred to them, and then what would go to at-home care?
At-home care was
Go
going
ahead.
for their long-term license.
Yeah, no, we never had VNA in our plans until at-home care withdrew its application. And as it turns out, VNA, although they
Withdrew their application, clarify that for me.
They withdrew their application to take over.
I think we talked about that several times.
Yeah, but I gotta clarify,
How
Jim.
onerous the process was, and they basically said, that this is not the way to go. Other counties have done it different ways. We're still committed to giving you the $150,000 we owe you.
But
Can
they
you work it out?
withdrew- they
So that's
withdrew
where
their
we are.
application
It's
to
that
take over?
simple. It's that simple.
Jim, I'm not, I really
No,
don't
I'm
want
just
to
saying,
be
it's very simple.
argumentative.
I think-
They withdrew their
No, I don't think
application
so.
that they offered to
I'm
us,
just
or
trying
they
to clarify.
reviewed their application for the long-term care license. What did they withdraw their application for?
My understanding, again, Doc, correct, because you're the expert on here, they thought that New York State was too onerous. They looked around the state and saw how other people were handling this thing, and said the smartest thing for Herkimer County, the patients and at-home care, is for us to work out this deal with VNA.
So but we're gonna pay you in good faith because we offered to pay you.
Absolutely.
So they're not in the picture at all. They're just gonna write us a check,
Yeah,
and
for
we're not
100
giving them anything.
For $150,000.
All right, but we're not doing anything for
Correct.
that. They're just
Absolutely.
gonna,
No guarantees,
did
no
they put that
anything.
in writing?
We still have the contract.
That we'll give you $150,000 because at one point we said we would.
And as I mentioned, Lori was with us in the meeting with Senator Seward and Doc and Mr. Smith. and-
You gotta remember, at the time we signed that contract, that was the way to go. Then
Absolutely.
along the way, the
Right.
state pulled the rug out from
Right.
under us and said, well, selling these child licenses was no
Right.
longer valuable. And that created a whole new ballgame, and that's,
So the whole thing that we had with at-home care, I just want to reiterate it, so I say it out loud what I'm thinking, and you can correct me if my thinking is wrong. We had this agreement with them, and they were going to take over the program for us, but because it was an onerous process, they're not going to do it anymore, and they said, but we told you we'd give you $150,000, you were going to give us your license, you don't have to give it to us anymore because it's not worth anything, we're still going to give you $150,000, and go get what you need from VNA.
well, they were
Is that
part,
really?
I think that's
They were-
paraphrased very well.
they were actually part of the process to get them involved, right? I mean, she was on board all along,
Who, VNA?
no, Valerie.
Lori Neander.
At-home care.
Yeah, at-home care was on board with us in the meeting to actually get them through Senator Seward's office, and he dealt with the Department of Health, and she was very happy that we were going that route.
And at-home care is going to give Herkimer County $150,000, and we're not giving them anything.
They're honoring the contract that they originally.
The contract says I'll give you $150,000, and you're gonna give us this, but now we're not gonna give them anything, right?
It's not worth it in there, so.
So we're not even giving them anything, even if it's not worth it, we're not doing anything, we're just gonna.
We're not transferring a license, we're not doing any of that.
We're not giving them anything, okay,
So
so.
see,
We're just closing. And that was their recommendation, it was
it
Lori's
shortens the whole
recommendation
process
months ago.
up, because the process, the transfer of that license was quite lengthy.
Well, the process that's shortening is that we're gonna be able to get out of CHA sooner.
Yeah,
That's all
because-
that it is.
Because they're all licensed and ready to go.
And we have how many patients in CHA?
What is it, seven?
Seven.
Seven.
And
All in
our
long-
long-term
All
care
in
is going
long-term
to.
care.
We have 0 patients in certified home health
Oh.
agency and
7 in long-term care. And how many staff?
I think we should go in executive
Okay,
session.
I just want numbers, I don't care about who they are, I just
Well, that
curious.
has to happen anyway, so I think that should happen.
Can you tell me how many staff in the
Well,
closed
Doctor,
session?
absolutely.
How many staff in,
Depending on full-time equivalents, it would be, let's say, 3, 4, 5, something on that line. It's
3, 4, or 5?
Yeah, it's a combination of full-time equivalents.
And so now that I understand where you're going, so now where we're standing at is we're still trying to get the New York State Regional, we're appealing that with Seward in hopes that we can get them to allow us to stay with VNA, to go with VNA. That's what we're looking for, to appeal the decision. That's what this was.
It looks like it's going to be successful.
We're hopeful.
Yeah,
I would like to use that word.
hopeful. Okay, we okay with that one? Okay, then I'll ask
But we're going to have executive session for more detail on that.
We're discussing that.
Dr. O'Keefe, can you give us an update on the PCAP?
I can. Briefly, early in this year, perhaps February, Dr. Deborah Lee, who's a faculty member at the Family Practice Residency at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, who performs an obstetric clinic at our facility under the prenatal care services, reported that the residency program had become so busy and they had taken on new residents and she had greater responsibilities in Oneida County, and she would no longer, as of June 30th this year, be able to continue with the program, giving us notice. And since that time, we've looked at different possibilities and had the benefit of some counsel from Dr. Lee about this program. Again, I'll try to be brief, but the prenatal program is an important program because the earlier that a woman gets into prenatal care, the number of complications that a woman has and the number of complications that a baby has are limited. A complication from a pregnancy may have a one-year cost of $200,000, and this program is in that range for cost for the entire program. However, our program is relatively small, of 600 plus babies that are born every year in Herkimer County, which has been diminishing along with our population. We've handled as many as 100 of those patients, but currently about 60 per year.
About 16% of the Medicaid population.
And so many of the patients that we help out are the patients who need the most help, who don't have transportation, don't have insurance, and who become Medicaid eligible with their pregnancy. So among the possibilities that we've looked at have been hiring a physician to come in as an obstetrician. Dr. Lee and the recruitment specialists at Bassett have said that the minimum price for this would be about $250,000. And it not only would be $250,000, it would also be very difficult to find someone who is willing to commit to come into Herkimer County where there is no one at all practicing obstetrics, and our one hospital, Little Falls Hospital, doesn't perform obstetrics. Another proposal has been that the county hire a physician to do a variety of different jobs, including prenatal care, and the cost for that is about $150,000 plus benefits, and that's something that perhaps could work, but it would mean implementing programs we don't have at this point. From social services every day of the week, having that physician be the jail physician and so on. So it's a program that would require a lot more expense. Dr. Lee has expressed a lot of interest in continuing the relationship with Herkimer County because this is a wonderful learning experience for her residents, as well as being a wonderful opportunity for our patients to have a doctor who remains with them through their whole pregnancy. And in light of her, the expansion of the program at St. Elizabeth's from 10 interns and residents in each year of the 3-year program to 12, having 6 extra doctors there in their program, and each doctor requiring 50 deliveries during their training period. They have a need for patients to provide that experience for their residents. And when I say that, I mean the whole subject of training for residents comes up, and the question of are our patients getting good care? And I think it goes without saying that they are supervised in every step of the way and have Dr. Lee or one of her associates with them at all times. So our patients aren't getting poor care, they're getting possibly as good or better than they would if they had private care. And in that light, because of their needs for these patients, they are currently sending residents, or their resident physicians to Syracuse to get the experience that they lack in Oneida County because they aren't able to garner enough deliveries there for the residents. So at that point, the discussion has shifted to, we can provide you with those patients. A, will you accept them as fast as we can send them to you, so that we get our patients in for early prenatal care, and so you get your residents well trained. And so at this point, that's still under consideration, but it's under strong consideration by St. Elizabeth's, because St. Elizabeth's especially, and St. Luke's also, have a commitment to healthy outcomes for pregnancy. So that is our number one plan. The other plans are sort of adjuncts. How would we do this, and how would we see more patients? If we don't have to have the obstetrician available, and she's currently available 1 day a week, we're able to see patients every day of the week without the obstetrician being present, and just get them ready to see the obstetrician up in Utica, then we could provide them with the patients that they need for their program. The goal being to get the patients in earlier and to get their care started so that they have the good outcome that that Herkimer County has attained. Some years ago, Mr. Wallace often reminds us that we were worse than the Bronx, and now we are better than the state average in terms of mortality, as well as early births and low-weight births. And our particular program has a very good record. I recognize our Kathy Williams, who's sitting next to me, who's the prenatal coordinator, and has done a very good job of that program.
It's my understanding too that the initial visit will still be in your department, and then our referral will be done to St. Elizabeth's or St. Luke's or whoever we decide to go with. But the program as it is now would probably, Dr. Lee wouldn't be coming here because she's retiring, or not retiring, but going back to her home base. But the program would be just as strong as it was right here. And
I think that, you know, out of a bit of bad news, you know, it might mean we would actually serve more people than we currently do, and at least as many, and that's the hope.
And
Jimmy? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, out of the 600 or so children that are born, how many are DCAP? 60.
Oh, perhaps 60 are in our program, yeah.
Yeah, but how many are eligible for our program? our county of six, is that what you're asking?
How many total, and then there's, then Bassett does some, I believe.
Some go to Bassett, probably a similar amount through our program.
So about 120 then, or
And so perhaps as many as 200 patients, I would think, as with the rest of our Medicaid numbers, perhaps, maybe a third.
One of the issues for me, and Doctor went on telling us all these things, when we have a program like this that is significantly changing as of the end of June, I would hope that, while I appreciate Doctor being here to explain it, that we would have something and receive something that you can hold in your hand and read and understand. This is what we have, this is what some of the changes, this is what we may be proposing. I think there's so much to absorb with what he said. I heard one part that one of the plans, the best plan will be, I don't know if it's St. Elizabeth, is considering allowing the doing. I don't know, that's not a plan if they're considering.
It's under strong consideration.
Yeah, but so our plan would be, they're under strong consideration. If it's a yes, it's this. If it's a no, it's a what?
Dr. Lee has taken, I don't know if she has taken it back there, but she's proposed to take it back to her supervisor and get permission to do this. So far, we don't have that permission.
Right, but our program is without a doctor as of when?
June 30th.
June 30th.
6 weeks.
So we're working. Oh. You know, I mean, it's
Well,
not like.
again, I respect that, Ray, but I just think that we should be able to look at where we are, and I think Mr. Bono asked, how many people, where else can they go, what would happen? We should be able to get, it's significant. Jim Wallace has talked about how critical it is, and I agree with Jim, and we all know that if these moms are not getting these services and these kids, it's going to be not only from a human factor, but the expense factor to our county is significant. I would like to see what Dr. O'Keefe spoke put to pen, and for us to be able to see so you can look at it and we're able to graph it out ourselves and chart it out and say really what's happening. We have, if I understand what you added, Ray, is that the best scenario is that the hospitals in Utica will take our referrals. A woman pregnant coming in, we do what? What do we do for them here? And are we doing it with nurses?
Preliminary examination.
Do we need to have a doctor in order to be able to do that? And will we have to recruit a doctor? I don't know. Do you, from what he said? Because I don't.
Well, this is part of the, it's always nice to have facts, but facts aren't available yet, and we've made inquiries with the Department of Health as to whether I, as an internist, can be that obstetrician substitute. My reading of the regulations is that I can't, and it specifically says you need to be an obstetrician or a family practitioner. So we've asked for guidance from our regional office, which has not yet been forthcoming. But that would be the go-to plan, would be that we would do a very preliminary examination, which primarily would be to ready them for the visit with the obstetrician. It would get them on vitamins, it would arrange for their lab work, it would arrange for their Medicaid, and primarily would arrange so that they had an appointment as quickly as possible.
Doc, I did get a call from Diana Alden. It was very, I think, very important as far as prenatal care in the area, and would be very supportive of some type of plan like that.
But,
and I don't know who talked to her, where she got it from, but she called me.
But if what I understood Doctor to just say is that it still will require someone to either allow him to be the surrogate obstetrician, if you will, or hiring another doctor to do it. Was that the $150,000 estimate?
That would be the full-time non-obstetrician.
That's not our plan right now.
The plan is for Dr. O'Keefe to be able to do it.
The plan is to make the referral.
But you can't get the person in here without having a doctor.
Hopeful that Dr. O'Keefe could do that.
And if Dr. O'Keefe, if they
now
don't,
we would need an alternative.
I'd like to see,
No,
with June
we
being right
could do
around
that.
the corner,
Doc and I could do that pretty quick.
that we should be able to see in writing what the
We
various
can give you
options
some
are.
bullets.
And then the staffing issue you would be doing in executive session.
Since I'm new at this, who would provide the transportation, or is anybody
Well, that's,
responsible?
we had that discussion, Gary. There's, we have our Medicaid transportation that could happen. We've discussed some crazy ideas of, trying to go get money from Community Foundation for a van, to do those kinds of things, to talk with Mary Scanlon's, Kathy Fox's staff, sorry about that, to see how we could do that maybe once or twice a week, to work that out. Very important. I mean, most of our people, Gary, don't have transportation. And we also were hoping that maybe Bassett would step up and take a few of these too.
We're
If
not
it made more sense
obligated to
towards
do
that side of the county.
What's Dennis, this is not a mandated program,
Correct.
but it's gonna bite us if we don't have something.
I've always believed that.
I agree with you.
No, it's going to.
Anyone else?
So why don't we, again, June 30th is right around the corner. We got a very tight timeline to keep us all informed.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? Okay, is there anything under other? Yeah.
Country Manor. I am very interested to know the status of whatever's happening in terms of proposals, letters of intent, and what our process is going to be. I'm very concerned that we don't have a level playing field. But I'm uncertain on what those of you who are in the know, because I don't know. What the status is of proposals, or how the review process will take place, and I would appreciate an update to know where we are.
When do
Executive session, guys, or not?
Yeah, it probably is, isn't it?
Well, I guess the part I would speak of is what I know from the community perspective, but that wouldn't be executive.
The proposal, but
Yeah. It doesn't hurt it, I don't
not
think.
necessarily a contract.
Well, was there more than one?
A new one came in.
Changes as we talk.
If you're discussing the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of corporation, so if you're getting into performance types issues of corporation, then there is some authority to go into executive session, but it's very limited, quite frankly, and negotiations doesn't cover executive session. So it's tough.
Yeah, but
Well, I'll try to be very bland, and hopefully it gives everybody enough information. And is that okay?
yeah, that's okay.
Okay, we have 3 proposals. They're not the same 3 proposals.
Same, what do you mean? Yeah, same.
We're going to let them.
Yeah, let me just get, it'll only be a couple minutes, guys, and try to ask questions, and I'll try to share as much as I can with you. Folks Home today told us they're not interested. They just don't feel, they were one of the 3 that we had talked about, and I think somebody asked me one of the last meetings, they said, geez, we may have 4th on the table. So we have 3 proposals on the table. The new addition was Valley Health Services. That came in the last few days. Not very much data, not very much information. Just looking to work out a deal with the county, should we be interested. Very similar to their proposal the last time. I don't know if I'm saying too much. Rob, yell at me if I am.
Just who the other 2 were, we've never made known public.
Let me just, I want to get their names.
Do you want to give?
You mentioned 2. I just
Yeah,
don't throw
well,
them
I
out.
know, we're talking about names now, though.
Yeah, they might be.
No, it's just that they set proposals, that's all what they are.
What do you think?
There's no need to disclose it, certainly. But whether you do or not is up to you. And the question is whether it would interfere with the ability to negotiate the best deal for the county.
Well, obviously it would.
Well, you just negotiated, you
Knowing
just
who
disclosed
they
one
are.
of them. You
Yes.
just disclosed the one that came into it?
But the danger
Huh?
would be that people will go to those.
Maybe I go-
That's why I was trying.
People may go to
No,
those
I
parties
think
and
you
try to
should,
interfere
because
with
I
the
understand what he's saying.
We probably should go on executive session.
Well, let me ask
Yeah,
the
we're going
question.
to go into specific names, and I think,
Mr. Chairman, I move we go into executive session.
Is there a second for that?
So then the comments that I have that are not exec will stay with the outside, at the other end? Is that what you're saying? Because the comments that I have, I don't believe are necessary for executive session, but I'll hold them until the end.
Is there a second for the executive session?
There was.
Yeah, there was.
Who was it?
Somebody said second.
I'll second.
That was for what, Ways and Means?
Ways and Means out for, I'll go.
I need Ways and Means executive session.
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks. All in favor, Ways and Means? Acker?
I made it first.
All in favor, human resources?
Guys, give me a second.
Well, I can also report on the workers' compensation issue. It wouldn't be an executive session, but a private session. I did complete my research. If you want to also hear that during the private session, maybe we should announce that as well.
Okay.
So the options and proposals for Country Manor will be assembled at some point and brought before this committee. Who is going to be reviewing those? Will all proposals be reviewed, or a recommendation of only one proposal?
We haven't really talked about it. I would assume that, we're waiting for one, right, you said?
Yes,
Is there a deadline?
next Friday.
Self-imposed.
No, I'm honest with you.
I understand.
Say what you want.
Nature abhors the vacuum, Jim. If somebody's got to do it, do
I
it.
answer the question.
I would bring all of them.
What's that?
All remaining, I would say. But it doesn't matter if you want to see the ones that withdrawn also, I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, any that are to be considered.
Right.
Right, that's
Then we
all.
wanna-
Well,
That's all
I'm
I'm
just saying,
asking,
we
right,
might folks home and
right.
said, no, it's not in our best interest.
Because you might look at it different than what I look at it, Jim.
No, absolutely.
You
I'm
know-
just saying, no, I was
Right, no,
talking
I-
about folks home who said, no, we're
Right.
not. At
So
this-
once they
We're
come in-
interested, but not at this time.
Well, they're
my
not.
committee, and then I guess I'll talk to Dennis and Dutch in terms of what to do, but we want to put them together. I'd like to probably maybe bring them in and talk to them. And see exactly what the proposals are, and then call me if you got an idea, email me. But we want to try to do it as soon as we can. I mean, that's, you said next Friday, so as soon as things are together, we want to look at them so we can talk about it. If there's any good proposals, make decisions. If there's not, then don't make decisions. Yeah.
I just want to respond to part of what was said in executive session that the attorney agreed was not executive session. Yes, we did send out RFPs 2004. Apparently, there wasn't a lot of interest, and whatever interest wasn't the greatest of deals. I've had that experience before when we sent out RFPs for the village. We didn't get a good deal, so we did it again and got a better deal. And that was in less time frame than 8 years. I mean, an 8-year-old RFP, I think, a little mute at this point. And everybody, I was also told everybody looks under a rock, knows we're selling. We've talked about New York City firms that are connected to this thing. Believe me, New York City firms probably aren't looking at the telegram. And who knows where the best deal for the residents in the county would come from. I don't understand that we've heard about. Be fair to these people that happen to talk to a legislator to give them a proposal or whatever.
Well, why don't you?
But what about fairness to everybody?
Why don't you look at it this way? Why don't you look at the proposals that came in? This legislature's going to decide whether any of those proposals are any good.
Because
If they are any good, then we
I-
can
do
work
I-
on it. If not,
do I still have the floor?
sure.
Because I always found, and talking to people in other county municipalities, they found the same thing. You would tend to get the best deal if you open up the process. And we talk about fairness to people that happen to show up and give a proposal. What about other people in the industry? What about taxpayers that might have a better deal if it goes out to everybody? And why would these guys drop
open to
out? Why would
it's open
these
to
guys
everybody.
drop out?
It's open to
Why
If you get
wouldn't
one
they just-
tomorrow, if you get one tomorrow, bring it here and we'll look at it.
Okay.
Bring it. There's nothing closed here.
No, well, it seems to be closed every other time. We're getting somewhere.
I disagree with you, Mr. Orton.
No, did you tell me to bring the RFP before?
What?
I think a lot of this is like the discussion at the college last week. People gotta start realizing that when you work in a committee structure, you let the committee do the work, whether it's one or two involved, they bring the results back to the floor. You don't have anything to bring to a committee yet, do you?
No.
We're arguing about a process, and probably nobody put in more time there the last couple of years than I did. And I explained this to the girls about the way Mr. Wallace did. The help at the home, plus the residents that heard it. If they couldn't take $5 million and make that system work, how are we doing?
You find out by getting the proposal.
We've had consultants tell us it's not a moneymaker,
Yeah,
it's not gonna make it.
I think we've discussed this, ad nauseum for quite a long time. I'd like to go on to more business.
Mr. Russell, I did ask for
We're
a
not
copy of
looking
the
to
local
make-
law, Mr. Malone's gonna
Now it's
give
about
me
a
this.
share.
We're able to do this without a general solicitation. We're
Right.
able to take
Right.
from selected people approaching us and not us approaching anyone else. And he's gonna give me that, and then I'll ask for
Wait,
a state
Dennis
control.
still has something.
I wanna be comfortable.
Is that within his committee purview?
Yes, for human resources. I would like human resources to put a proposal out that we accept no more people at the country manor.
You making that motion?
I'm not on human resources. I think human resources should make that recommendation, and the full legislature should vote on it, and the clock should be ticking. We're taking care of who we've got, but we're getting out of the business. If we can find a way to take care of them there
Well, why
and
wouldn't we-
sell the service, fine. If we have to get out of the service and then sell the infrastructure separate, that's how we get out of it. One way or another, we've got to get out of the service.
Okay, I understand, but wouldn't we want to wait for proposals first, just in case?
I don't have a problem. I'm just saying, if it's just gonna be badgered and gummed to death, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being in the
Oh.
business. I wanna get out of the business. And I don't want, one of the biggest concerns is what happens to the residents. If we restrict any more residents coming in there, we're dealing with fewer and fewer people whose needs need to be met.
Dennis, we did set a limit
At 32.
to 32.
What I'm saying is, say, that's it. We aren't taking any more. We're stopping any more. Because if there's
So you wanna
31 up
change-
there, we're recruiting
You
more.
want to change that from 32 to say that when
We're
someone
not-
goes
no more
and leaves,
inbound.
we don't replace.
No more.
Okay.
I thought that was what we had agreed upon.
No, we had a limit of 32. And Tim Seymour has been trying to maintain that level. He has people that wanted to go in, and he looks at the list, and if there's something that can, they fit the plan up there, he takes them in, but he stays under that 32 level. And what Dennis is saying now is we got it at 32, but if somebody leaves the facility, we're not replacing them.
No, then we should drop to 31, then 30. And someday in the future, we'll be out of the
Is
business.
that what the members of the Human Resource Committee would like to see?
I'll make the motion. That we stop inbound at this point.
Is there a
Stop
second
taking,
to that?
stop taking patients at this
Lining
point.
up.
So you're seconding it?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would hope that the fiscal impact on our budget this year, we know that we built a budget that for, what was it built for, Mr. Wallace, if I might ask? Was it built for 40, or was it built for 60, or was it
80.
built for 80?
80.
So we built a budget for 80, and that,
Oh, no.
60?
The facilities is there.
40? Okay, so we built a budget for 40, we're at 32. And is it correct to say that about half of the cost is subsidized by the state or federal, however we get our money, and half of the cost?
Half of the loss,
So,
not the cost.
right, half of the loss.
Because you
So
still have
as
some
we
high-
look at what we're losing,
I think we
and
still have
as-
private
if
pays
we
left.
cut one person down, until we drop from 32, and we drop to 29, and we drop to 26, the additional expense to the taxpayers while we're through this transitional process is more money, because we're still got the facility, and we've got the basic costs that are in there. We've got the staff that are gonna care for 29, or are they gonna care for 30? So we've got those inherent costs in it. I would have no objection if people were to come in and we say, we are in the process of negotiating the end of this program, and you should know, you say to the resident and you say to family, this program is going to be no more sooner rather than later, and when you come, you need to understand that, and not have our losses be worse. We've got programs, I was talking to somebody today that talked about the high cap program. We know that there's problems with maternity services and things like that, programs that are not subsidized. And if we've got the kind of money to continue to absorb this loss, maybe we could use the money to be supporting some of those programs. I think Mr. Corse's suggestion, while well-intended, is something that we could be punishing ourselves beyond what we need to. You've got proposals, if you're comfortable that you're on sure ground with it, I question why you would do that. Why you would say if you have the staff, or at least show a spreadsheet, show what your existing costs are, and at what point you have any additional savings by reducing that census. Show what those savings are by going from 32 to 30 to 29. Let's look at the money that you're talking about, rather than arbitrarily just saying, you know what, we're not taking any more, because hopefully you'll all get gone and we will have no problem.
Well, I think that is.
My point is, if you're trying to sell a service, the fewer clients that need to be transitioned is gonna make the sale a simpler process.
You're probably right.
Well, you have some people down there that are private pays.
Not many.
Well, 6 or 7.
I mean, I think you're making an assumption that if there's transition, that's my concern, that there's that assumption.
The fewer people that would be residents that would be involved in it, yes.
There'd be transition for us, but if proposals come in and they're of a different nature, then my concern is are you,
See, at one time,
of course, it'd still be based on.
when we only had the Valley Health people, they were concerned, they wanted us to keep it at a certain level, because they were interested in transferring those patients to their facility. And that, at that time, I think we were talking of 48 or something. They wanted a level of 48.
No, they were gonna have 16 outfits Medicaid.
No, but they wanted us to keep it at a certain level.
Yeah, they were happy with 40.
40, okay.
I'm not on committee, but I mean, if it.
But when their proposal kind of died out, that's when we changed to the 32 level. And it's been like 4 years that we've been waiting for them to do something, and they finally come back the other day. But they didn't, when they came back the other day, they didn't say anything about the number of people that were there.
Well, to shut it off now without any further understanding about where's the capacity, what the costs for us to do it, I think there needs to be, I mean, I can understand the motivation for doing it, but I think it should be still a decision based on some sound data. And you cut it, I mean, I don't know why, if we can do it, we've got enough people there with bookkeeping to be able to pull it out for us and show us just what those savings are.
There's fewer individuals in harm's way. That's simple.
Yeah, I know exactly. I'm
Move
just
the
saying.
question, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a motion?
Yes.
Was there a motion?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
To change the way.
Jim Bono, money on made the motion.
Does this go anyplace after this, just point of information? The decision here is binding?
Goes to heaven, and hopefully that we get a blessing from that and it'll come back up.
Well, without his sarcasm, Mr. Chairman. The question was to you.
Well, about sarcasm, Mr. Rose.
We didn't do it well enough.
Can we let the full legislature vote on it?
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Does it go to the full
Fred?
legislature after this?
I'd have to talk to them.
We're gonna see if it goes to full legislature after this.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, I don't think it did before.
I don't think it did before either.
It didn't, but if you're shutting it down completely,
We're not sure.
We'll do the research and
Reducing it.
let people know.
Okay, do you want to?
I need a motion.
I mean, I know there's no break even.
Len, Fred?
All those in favor?
Can you tell me what the vote was on that? How many ayes and nays?
Fred, no.
Everybody else was yes?
Yes.
Politically safe hater, they want.
Kurt, where'd he go?
He's already on his way.
No, but what I see.
Correctional services, Doran, let's go.
Rock and roll, man.
We still got past, we got Come on, Ray, you gotta be quick. You gotta get
Quick is gone this late today, let me tell you.
You got the Boston, you got the Celtics on, you got the Lakers on, you got friggin' Yankees on.
Oh, it was.
Do Rangers play tonight too?
Jim?
No, I've seen.
They just played last night. I wanna get home.
All right, everybody just have the RFP handed out an email earlier. RFP.
Get the,
I'm sorry. Did you get one?
Everybody have the RFP proposals?
Oh gosh, why didn't you have the other room? We could have gotten to sit at the table.
Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, no, we could have sat at the table.
Do you want to move into the?
No, this is not, not big enough for us.
I was wondering what the hell you were talking about.
Yeah. First thing on the agenda was the band, RFP for the bandwidth that we've been talking about for the last 6 months, or probably longer than that. We had 3 people bid it, AT&T, Time Warner, and Northland. AT&T came back, you should have the sheets in front of you, extremely high, and they came back the lowest in the megabyte, 4.5. Right now we're at 3. We put the proposal out at 10, correct?
10 megabytes?
10 megabytes.
Is this per month, by the way?
Yeah, the bottom figure is per month. Right now we're spending $2,255.
Can I get one of those?
Yep. AT&T's proposals came back with 2 different options. One was $4,125 a month, and one was $5,682. Time Warner came back at $2,729, and Northland came back at $3,211. However, there's a big difference between the bandwidth between the two. Northland's coming in at 20 megabytes, and that's insane, right? And Time Warner's coming in at 10, but that's a little deceiving because I think Mike can share a little bit more on that. Yeah.
The difference between Time Warner and Northland and the bandwidth, Time Warner, if you guys might have it at home, it's sort of have a dynamic type baud rate where if there's a lot of people using your bandwidth, you get less of it, so your internet slows down. So it's definitely, it's going to fluctuate. Whereas Northlands are going to give us 20 megabytes upload and downloads, and it's going to be constant 20 either way.
Yep.
But that's a big
For
difference.
five,
It's a huge difference.
500 or $1,000.
And this is the cost per month.
It's a cost per month.
Well, we're also looking at possibly reducing some of our line charges if we go with Northland. I talked to John.
Who do we have right now?
Northland. I talked to John with the phone system. He thinks we can save another $450 a month off of that price with a little bit of adjustment on our end, which would bring us back down to very similar bid as Time Warner. And also some of that state.
Double the gigabytes.
Well, costs, because these costs are allocated to the different departments, so it ends up about 45% of the cost gets reimbursed.
Mr. Chairman, the changes in the phone systems, this is something we could have done anyway?
No, we would need the bandwidth to do it. I think that's what's been holding us up.
And you can't do that under the Time Warner proposal, but you can do it under the Northland?
Correct.
Time Warner is just addressing the internet portion, whereas Northland is just addressing our phone system needs and the internet.
And Time Warner wasn't asked to do that?
They can't.
They offer a different kind of service than what.
That's not what we put out for RFP.
If you want to know why the lines are cheaper under the Northland proposal than they're all the same on the others, it's because Northland is proposing to use a microwave system where they can, some of those lines are directly, they're not part of our switch, they're 866 numbers that go to the, directly to the remote locations, Highway Department 911. And right now, we pay Northland, but they're leasing those lines themselves from Verizon. They're proposing to put even those lines across the microwave, so it would be all their stuff, so this is what they would charge.
Oh, so they're not paying anybody to, it's no brainer.
Any problem, no problems at 911 doing that? At a 911 center?
No, because they have other lines coming in too, they have.
Our recommendation
These are just your
is
admin
to go with Northland.
And Northland at 3211, but you know that you're going to bring it down how much?
John thinks we can bring down another $450.
Those are the lines that are associated with 911 that we may be able to put over the microwave.
For the amount of
Twice the service, twice the gigabytes.
It's going to help us with our disaster.
For the amount of speed you're
recovery.
getting though.
Yes.
the amount of speed you're gonna get.
No, Kurt,
on
that's
top
a
of that.
5-year contract too, right?
That right there
This is a 3-year contract
is-
with, if I'm reading that right, it's 5-year,
Yes.
okay. And Time Warner's only 3.
Just a comment, I didn't even realize they could make that so it doesn't fluctuate at all. Probably because I was always on Time Warner.
Well, yeah, right. Northland is actually in the phone business. They provide us our dials and we use them for our calls we make. So they're putting in the infrastructure, coming into Herkimer, they're gonna put fiber in. And it's gonna make things so much easier if we ever had to upgrade or needed more or changes. I mean, they're gonna be able to do it at their switch where it's gonna be a bigger deal for like AT&T or Time Warner because they have to add more
Fiber.
infrastructure.
But that 20 megabytes and it stays stable, that's enough
Yeah.
fiber? That's where it
Yeah.
They're actually gonna put it in originally with copper, but they're.
I second that.
We're talking a few $100, but when we're done.
You ever getting double service?
Right.
And it's fiber, so it's guaranteed.
Yeah, you can zip around.
Oh yeah, we're at
You
3
make
right
your
now.
workers work a little faster too, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not 20 everywhere though, right?
Right.
It's 10 on the other. Is that what I'm
Well,
reading?
that 10 is the connection to us. Like from the highway garage to us is a 10 meg link, but everybody still goes through us to get to the internet, which will be the 25.
Right.
Motion?
So moved.
To go with Northland? Yeah, first, second.
Who seconded it?
I need a second.
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor?
This is something we have to do.
I mean, we should have done it a couple of years ago, but I think we need, obviously need to do it.
Well, I'm just looking now, because Ways and Means has to approve it. So we're looking at the budget. What we're saying that probably gonna,
On paper, it's $960 right now. We're looking at dropping $450 more off the phone. And then the difference is 55-45 split with the state, right, roughly?
Yeah,
From
state
that,
and federal,
it'll be a couple,
reimbursement.
200 to 300 more a month.
Is the current one a contract that expires? When does it expire?
I'm not sure.
motion?
Make a motion.
Sorry,
Ways and
yeah.
Means. I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I appreciate these department people being here this late
Yeah.
at the tail end of these other committee meetings.
Thank you, Don. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All those in favor, did you get the voting information, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got all yeses.
Okay.
And then Pete and Jean.
All right.
Legislature.
Well, that's not.
Sound system?
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
a
legislative sound system. This was up for discussion. Just kicked over from, Jean's committee.
Yeah, we need,
Actually,
Megaphones?
Jim did some legwork on this, right?
We're still running down some prices. The last time we looked, it was about $30,000. I think the price that will come in to upgrade will be very similar, and we're just really looking for some direction from,
Can I make this comment?
What is it that we're trying to do?
Did
anybody have a problem hearing tonight without any microphones that we use?
No.
Then why do we need a sound system?
Mr. Chairman,
What is this?
I raised this at the Administration and Veterans Committee meeting.
Okay.
And the issue was the broadcasting of these meetings and the ability for the citizens that are listening to it on Channel 99 and the quality of that. And I asked if the Administration and Veterans Committee to allow our committee to look at the ways that we could improve the final product that goes to keep our citizens informed in the community. And of course,
Can't you hook up a fiber to those things and then put it into the camera?
I'm not sure. I know that the camera that
Can't you plug into that?
Mr. Chairman, may I continue?
Can't you just loop into that?
The broadcast done by the Concerned Citizens Group is often, the audio is better. I understand that there's some antiquity in the equipment that the college is using. And what I was asking permission for our committee to look at, and I'm certainly prepared to do the legwork, and I'm hoping that the IT department can help in some fashion, is to understand what kind of equipment that can produce a quality product at a very reasonable price. Certainly, I'm not thinking $30,000. That would allow the recording and broadcasting in better quality of not only legislative meetings, but to find out if in some fashion that can be extended to the committee meetings and be able to present it back to the Administration and Veterans Committee, because technology is changing every day. I asked the citizens group, they told me they paid $200 and some for that camera. So, and I had talked to Dr. Murray at one point with the college, and she said that the equipment, and I don't know if it's the equipment that Time Warner uses, but or if it's our equipment, it's held together with Band-Aids. And so we could be, unfortunately, at the mercy of that type of equipment and lose the ability to keep our citizens informed. And I know Mr. Bono has indicated that we're not in the movie business, but we certainly are in the business of making certain our citizens informed. And I think in this day and age, with competing demands on people's time, if we can do it extremely economically, it's worth the investigation to do that. So I don't know what Mr. Wallace is searching on. I mean, I know at one point these mics, they said were not very good, and when the air conditioning was a problem, it made it worse. I just think that there could be a way for us to be able to meet the needs of the public and do it very cost effectively and not $30,000. So that's what I had asked that it come to our committee. It just wasn't, it's not the acoustics of us hearing, although there have been some. I know Mr. Russell a few times has said, you know, I can't hear if the room fills up. So that's what I'm hoping, and I think I sent you an email to that effect.
I have had no complaints
I have.
with the college broadcast.
I have had people say that they can't hear it, they have to turn the volume maximum on the TV.
Well, it could be the television. I mean,
Well, I've heard many complaints, they don't all live in the same house. Is there a problem with us looking at it?
No, I mean, I could even address it at the college end if you'd like.
Well, no, not just that, I want to see what the technology is now and how effective it could be
So
to see
you want
whether.
us to film? You want us to do that?
Well, I want to find out if it's possible, that we can improve that. I mean, I know at one point Dr. Murray asked me if I knew anybody in Time Warner to try, because whatever equipment they use is a problem. And I would say that whatever equipment we're going to use, if we're able to look at it, it might be something that we're able to broadcast, record the committee meetings ourselves, because I know that the chairman has indicated that, you know, the citizens group is not necessarily the one that would be preferred. I think the bottom line is to get the information out to our citizens, to provide them access to it. Somebody had indicated that, you know, some people don't get Channel 99 or they don't get cable. We offer it in many fronts. As far as the IT office, it would be, when we do it, is it possible, do we have the equipment that would allow us to put it right on our website? And like you go to the State Commission on Corrections, you click on and you can hear their meetings. No matter when they do it. You can either watch it when it's going on or you can watch it later. Let's find out if the technology exists. I think those of us that are not many committees maybe have enough energy to spend some time on this in conjunction with this department without taking you from, you know, the jobs that you have. I mean, I would like us to be able to do that.
I concur,
Mr. Chairman, tonight, right now, it's pretty quiet in this room, but when that air conditioning comes on, and you have people in the audience get up there and speak, sometimes it's hard to hear them. People will sometimes don't talk as loud as other people, and sometimes it's hard to hear, especially if there's a second conversation going on besides what somebody is trying to bring forward.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to hear.
But I think that's why Jim
That could
looked
be
into
just
the
a
audio
video
system.
Well, Rob can just bring the mic over to the podium.
Well, we could get into, well.
Kurt?
You can't hear the person at the podium.
I would draw the line at hiring makeup artists for us, okay?
Come on.
I can do that for you.
There may be an expense account given to you
Okay.
for your wardrobe.
I take offense at that then. I need it.
I make the motion for committee so we adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I had something else on the topic. I know his motion has preference, but he's on it too. Well, he wants to adjourn. Is he on both committees?
Yes. He's on both.
Oh, that's,
Do I have to talk for a second?
Have a second?
I hope our committee's going on, the chairman is going to be going, the department head is going to be going to the workshop for the conference.
Second.
I need a second on information.
All in
So I can
favor?
deal with you
Ways and
directly.
means?
We'll talk directly.
To adjourn?
Is there a
All
second?
opposed?
Who's second on the committee?
No, I need a second on information.
Then my first official committee meeting, I get a gold star or something.
There'll be a little extra.
The same thing we all.
At least once more before your term is over.
All in favor?
Yes,
Have a good day.